Did you know that every few minutes, somewhere in the world, an older adult is diagnosed with cognitive decline? Cases that in many situations could have been prevented. These are not abstract statistics. They're painful, everyday realities. A grandmother who suddenly forgets her grandchildren's names. A father who loses his way home on a familiar street. A person whose identity slowly fades away from the inside out. What concerns me most, and the reason I'm speaking to you today with such urgency, is that science is revealing a truth that changes everything. Memory loss is not always an unavoidable consequence of aging or genetics. In fact, in many cases, it's directly linked to the foods we eat day after day. Everyday staples, often consumed with the best intentions, can quietly damage the brain and accelerate decline. If you're over 60, or care for someone who is, what I'm about to share could be the difference between living your later years with clarity and independence, or facing dependence and loss of self. Because here's the shocking part. Even something as ordinary as a glass of milk has been shown in studies to triple the risk of developing dementia or Alzheimer's. I'm Dr. Amy Myers. After more than 2 decades dedicated to health and longevity, I've seen firsthand how the right knowledge, shared at the right moment, can help preserve dignity and protect memory. Today we won't talk about trends or unproven ideas. We'll dive into evidence-based science, peer-reviewed research, and truths that too often never make it into routine medical conversations. I'll show you the 4 most harmful foods for your brain as you age, and just as importantly, the safer, smarter alternatives you can begin discussing with your doctor and your family. The 4th one will likely shock you, and it's the one that frustrates me most deeply. But before we open the pantry together and expose these hidden risks, let's first understand why food plays such a powerful role in cognitive decline. Imagine your brain as a vast library. Each neuron is a book storing memories, lessons, and life stories. The blood vessels are the aisles, carrying oxygen and nutrients, the fuel that keeps the shelves alive. Alzheimer's begins when tiny, nearly invisible sparks appear in this library. Toxic protein buildups, chronic inflammation, and resistance to insulin in the brain. These sparks don't destroy an entire book all at once. They consume it slowly, page by page, until entire shelves collapse. And here's where diet steps in. For years, we believed certain foods were harmless. In truth, they act like gasoline poured onto those sparks, making them grow faster. An aging brain is like a seasoned computer, full of wisdom but with fragile hardware that can no longer handle harmful fats, excessive sugars, and chemical additives the way it once did. Every poor food choice becomes a virus corrupting precious files, often silently, without clear warning, until one day the damage is irreversible. With this image in mind, let's open the kitchen cupboards, identify the dangers hiding in plain sight, and start learning how to protect the brain before it's too late. Number 1. Added sugars and soft drinks. Let's start with one of the most common culprits found in almost every pantry: added sugars and sugary drinks. Whether it's sodas, packaged juices, cakes, cookies, or those ready-made desserts, you've probably enjoyed them many times. They sneak into our lives so easily, offered at family gatherings, paired with coffee, or shared with grandchildren as if they were harmless little indulgences. And that's exactly the trap, their apparent innocence. When we're young, the body can often tolerate the occasional soda without much visible consequence. But once you reach 60, especially if these foods become part of your daily routine, the story changes completely. What once seemed like a simple pleasure turns into a silent enemy of your brain. And the danger is not small, because sugar attacks on 3 levels at once. The first front is insulin resistance in the brain. Insulin acts like a key that unlocks neurons so glucose, their main source of energy, can enter. But when sugar is in constant excess, those locks stop responding. The brain is surrounded by energy, yet it can't use it. Scientists even call this phenomenon type 3 diabetes, one of the hidden drivers of Alzheimer's. The second is chronic inflammation. Every soda, every sweet snack triggers a spike in blood sugar. In response, the body produces free radicals and inflammatory reactions that damage blood vessels, including those that nourish the brain. It's like lighting small, invisible fires in the library of your memories. And the third is the formation of amyloid plaques. Excess sugar disrupts the way proteins function in the brain, encouraging toxic plaques to accumulate, a hallmark of Alzheimer's. A soda today, a slice of cake tomorrow, and without realizing it, you're laying down the groundwork for memory decline. Take the example of Carlos, 68, a retired man who loved hosting card games with friends. On the table, there were always sodas and cookies. "It's just a little treat. I've earned it," he used to say. He had some belly fat and slightly high blood pressure, but he assumed it was normal for his age. What he didn't know was that every sugary sip was quietly feeding insulin resistance in his brain. Over time, he began to forget names and repeat stories. His friends thought it was just age. 2 years later came the diagnosis: early Alzheimer's. Now comes the important question. Does this mean we must give up sweets forever? Not at all. The key is balance and strategy. The first step is awareness. Ask yourself honestly how much added sugar you're consuming each day, not just the spoon in your coffee, but the hidden sugars in bread, flavored yogurt, or breakfast cereals. The goal should be to reduce it as much as possible, because the brain does not need extra sugar to function. What can you choose instead? Water is always the best ally. If you miss the fizz of soda, sparkling water with lemon is a refreshing substitute. If you crave sweetness, reach for whole fruits like apples, grapes, or oranges. Natural fructose comes packaged with fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants, nutrients that protect rather than harm. And don't underestimate small adjustments. Replacing that daily soda with water could mean the difference between a brain that slowly shuts down and one that stays sharp. Cutting the sugar in your coffee in half is already a major win for your memory. The goal isn't to forbid yourself from enjoying cake on birthdays. It's to prevent sugar from becoming part of your everyday routine. With the right awareness, you gain the power to make better choices, and those choices could be what safeguards your memory for years to come. Number 2. Trans fats and processed fatty foods. The second hidden enemy for your brain is one most people never connect with memory loss: trans fats and processed oils. They creep into our lives through convenience. The quick fix when we're hungry and don't feel like cooking. Opening a pack of cookies, snacking on chips, grabbing an industrial pastry, or reheating a frozen pizza feels harmless. But behind that easy flavor lies a serious threat to brain health. Why? Because the very fabric of your brain, your neurons, depends on fat. Every single neuron is surrounded by a delicate fatty membrane. That membrane acts like a gatekeeper, controlling what enters, what exits, and how well signals are transmitted. For memory, learning, and focus, the quality of that fat is everything. Now imagine swapping healthy, flexible fats for rigid, artificial trans fats. It's like trying to build a house using worked wood or damp cardboard. The structure becomes weak, brittle, and prone to failure. In the brain, that translates into sluggish communication, damaged connections, and reduced repair capacity. The first warning signs are often subtle: slipping memory, confusion, or that mental fog so many people blame on age. But studies have shown that diets high in trans fats directly raise the risk of Alzheimer's disease. And it doesn't stop there. These fats spark chronic inflammation inside the brain. Think of every packaged pastry as tossing a lit match onto dry grass. One doesn't burn down the field, but after years, the fire becomes inevitable. Worse still, trans fats disrupt cholesterol balance. They lower the protective HDL and stiffen blood vessels, cutting down the flow of oxygen and nutrients your brain desperately needs. Without that steady fuel, neurons suffocate little by little. Take Marta, a 75-year-old widow who always started her mornings with coffee, bread spread with margarine, and a pastry. Cooking wasn't her thing, so most meals came from boxes or packages. Gradually, her daughters noticed she repeated the same questions, lost her train of thought, and eventually failed to recognize her own neighbor of 30 years. Doctors confirmed early Alzheimer's, and when her eating habits were reviewed, the pattern was obvious. For decades, trans fats had been silently attacking her brain. The lesson? If industrial foods are part of your daily diet, the time to act is now. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight, but you do need to start identifying and removing the worst offenders. Look at labels carefully. If you see partially hydrogenated oil or hydrogenated vegetable fat, leave that product on the shelf. Healthy alternatives are simple. Replace margarine with extra virgin olive oil. Swap packaged pastries for a handful of nuts or almonds. Spread avocado on bread instead of processed spreads. And remember, fast food doesn't have to mean unhealthy food. A bowl of yogurt with fruit, carrot sticks with hummus, or whole grain toast with olive oil can be just as quick and protective. Alzheimer's doesn't appear out of nowhere. It develops slowly, fed by habits repeated day after day. Trans fats are one of the main culprits in that toxic process. The good news is, you hold the power to rewrite the recipe, choosing foods that not only satisfy hunger, but also safeguard your memory for the years to come. Number 3. Processed red meat and sausages. Now let's uncover the third culprit, processed red meats and sausages. They're part of tradition in many homes: chorizo, bacon, salami, mortadella, packaged ham. Few family barbecues or quick sandwiches seem complete without them. Their flavor is tied to memory and culture, but the truth is that behind that pleasure lies a dangerous cost, especially when eaten regularly over years. These foods act like a tempting bargain, instant satisfaction now, but with a hidden invoice that the brain eventually has to pay. And that invoice can come in the form of dementia or Alzheimer's. Why are they so harmful? Because they don't damage through one route, but through several. I call it the triple strike of processed meats. First, the preservatives. Nitrites and nitrates, added to give color and extend shelf life, turn into nitrosamines in the body, compounds that attack neurons and encourage abnormal protein deposits in the brain. Second, inflammation. These meats are loaded with saturated fats, and in many cases trans fats as well. Over time, they ignite a state of chronic inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain. Every sausage sandwich is like adding more fuel to the fire of memory decline. The third strike is through the gut. Research shows that excessive processed meat intake disturbs the microbiota, favoring harmful bacteria that release toxins. Those toxins don't stay in the gut. They travel through the blood, cross the barrier, and slowly poison neurons. Scientists call this the gut-brain axis in action. Take Jorge, 72 years old, a strong man who spent his life doing physical work. His routine was simple: bread with chorizo in the morning, sausages at night. "That's what gives me strength," he would say. But over time, the signs crept in: forgetting dates, repeating stories, changes in mood. Eventually, his children brought him to a neurologist. The diagnosis was clear: early Alzheimer's. Decades of daily processed meats had quietly laid the groundwork. So what do we do with foods so deeply tied to tradition? The answer is not total elimination, but extreme moderation. They should be occasional, not routine. And the key is honest reflection with ourselves and our families. Do we truly need sausage at every breakfast? Does every quick dinner have to involve bacon or pepperoni? The answer is no. We have better options. For brain-friendly proteins, choose oily fish rich in omega-3, which actively protect memory. At breakfast, swap cold cuts for avocado toast, a boiled egg, or a handful of nuts. For fast dinners, lean on legumes, hummus, or fresh, unprocessed meats. And if on a special day you enjoy some ham, pair it with vegetables and water, not white bread and soda, and balance it with healthier meals the rest of the week. Alzheimer's doesn't happen overnight. It builds silently, meal after meal, decision after decision. Processed meats are not innocent indulgences. They're risks that demand caution. And remembering this can mean the difference between keeping your life story intact or watching it slip away too soon. Number 4, alcohol. And now we arrive at the fourth and final culprit: alcohol, a socially celebrated poison. I've kept it for last because it's both the most normalized and the most destructive. A glass of wine with dinner, a beer with friends, a shot of liquor after a meal. It all seems harmless, even sophisticated. For years, certain studies even painted alcohol as protective, but current science leaves no doubt. For the aging brain, alcohol is like playing Russian roulette. Leading health organizations confirm it. There is no safe dose of alcohol for brain health. Each sip raises the risk of memory decline and dementia. The damage it causes is wide-ranging and profound. First, it is directly neurotoxic. Alcohol crosses the blood-brain barrier with ease, where it harms neurons, disrupts communication, and erodes the myelin sheath that protects nerve fibers. Imagine someone randomly tearing pages from the library of your memory. That's what happens over time. Second, alcohol robs the body of essential nutrients. It blocks the absorption of B vitamins, especially B1, B12, and folic acid, all indispensable for memory and neurotransmitter production. Without them, neurons are left defenseless, like a mechanic asked to repair an engine without tools. Third, it sabotages sleep, a critical period when the brain's cleansing system removes toxins built up during the day. With alcohol in your bloodstream, this process is interrupted. The toxic proteins beta amyloid and tau accumulate instead, the same proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. Fourth, alcohol fuels metabolic dysfunction. It promotes abdominal fat, raises cholesterol and glucose, stiffens arteries, and reduces the flow of nutrients and oxygen to the brain. Every glass is one more step toward fragile memory and accelerated decline. Consider Elena, 80 years old. She had enjoyed a daily glass of wine since her youth, believing it was good for her heart. Her family saw nothing wrong with it. But over the years, her forgetfulness worsened. She repeated the same phrases, got lost in her own neighborhood, until one day she sat staring at her wine glass, unable to remember if she had already drunk from it. The diagnosis? Advanced Alzheimer's. What had seemed like a harmless ritual became her silent enemy. This is not an easy subject, but it must be faced honestly. If alcohol is part of your daily life, ask yourself, is it worth the price of losing memories? True celebration doesn't live in a glass, but in the company you keep. Safer alternatives exist: herbal teas, mocktails, or simply water with fruit. A toast with lemon water might seem insignificant, but for your brain, it's a powerful act of protection. At an older age, alcohol should be occasional and minimal, never a habit. Otherwise, the cost is often a memory that could have been preserved. We've walked through a tough but necessary journey. We've opened the pantry and revealed 4 hidden saboteurs: added sugars and sodas that fuel type 3 diabetes in the brain, trans fats that weaken neuron membranes, processed meats and sausages that inflame and intoxicate the gut-brain axis, and alcohol, the socially accepted poison that erases pages of your story. The goal of this message is not to spread fear, but to give you back control. For too long, our eating choices have been shaped by convenience, advertising, and ultra-processed temptations. But you're not a passive bystander. You're the conductor of your health. The knowledge you've just gained is your strongest defense. It helps you ask the right questions, start meaningful conversations with your doctor, and make conscious choices in your kitchen. So don't leave this talk with anxiety. Leave with a plan. Look honestly at your daily habits. If any of these foods are part of your routine, begin replacing them now. Swap soda for water, margarine for olive oil, sausages for oily fish, wine for herbal infusions. Every small change is like laying another brick in the fortress that protects your memory. And one last request. If what you've learned here has helped you, share it. With your siblings caring for your parents, with your group of friends, with your children. Each time you pass it on, you may be sparing someone a painful diagnosis. Use the comments, too. Tell me your story. Do you consume any of these foods daily? Have you noticed changes in your memory or that of your loved ones? Your testimony enriches the community and reminds us we're not alone. Thank you for your attention and your time. Take care of your brain. It's the only one you'll ever have, and inside it lives your story, your identity, and everything you love. Until our next meeting, protect it well.